guten Morgen und willkommen zur nächsten Ausgabe unserer Live-Übertragung von Tourismus Namibia. Tourismus Namibia ist natürlich das Magazin, das Sie einmal im Monat in der Allgemeinen Zeitung als Beilage finden. Aber es geht ja viel weiter als das. Wir haben inzwischen angefangen, eben diese Show dazu benutzen, um Ihnen andere Ideen mal auch näher zu bringen. Mein Name ist Frank Steffen, ich bin der Redakteur der Allgemeinen Zeitung und natürlich des Tourismus Namibia Magazins. Und willkommen zur Show. Ich hoffe, wir können die auch heute wieder sehr interessant gestalten. Ich auf jeden Fall bin sehr gut gelaunt, schon alleine deswegen, weil unser Robert-Koch-Institut Namibia wieder neu eingestuft hat. Aber dazu kommen wir gleich, wenn wir eben unsere Topics, unsere Hauptthemen diese Woche besprechen. Ja, unsere Hauptthemen, wie ich schon andeutete, Robert-Koch-Institut und somit auch das Außenamt und Gesundheitsministerium und so weiter in Deutschland haben sich zusammengesetzt. Ich denke, es ist ja an für sich so oder so der Gebrauch, dass wir alle 14 Tage, glaube ich, die Länder wieder neu betrachten. Der große Punkt war eben letzte Woche wird sich der eine oder andere Zuhörer erinnern, habe ich illustriert, wie wichtig es ist, dass Namibia nicht grundsätzlich als ein Risikogebiet eingestuft werden sollte. Und zwar aus dem einfachen Grunde, weil wir nicht erst annähernd an die 50 pro 100.000 Einwohner kommen, die über 7 Tage hinweg als neu infiziert festgestellt wurden. Wir standen bei weniger als der Hälfte davon. Und na gut, ich glaube wohl kaum, dass unser kleines Programm jetzt den Ausschlag gegeben hat. Aber es ist trotzdem schön zu sehen, dass wir genau eine Woche später jetzt eben am Donnerstagabend hören durften, dass Namibia jetzt nicht mehr als Risikogebiet eingestuft ist. Und ich finde, dass für unsere Tourismusindustrie ist das also absolut eine gute Botschaft. Ich hoffe jetzt natürlich, dass unsere Regierung sich ganz schnell mit diesem Thema befasst, dringend mit Fenata, Han, Tasa und den ganzen Vertretern aus der Tourismusindustrie zusammenkommt und eine Art findet, wie der ganze Ablauf so abgestimmt wird, dass er erstens mal schnell ist und also nicht so unbequem ist für Touristen, die ins Land kommen. Ich denke, generell funktioniert es auch. Die 2 Touristen, mit denen ich sprach, sagten, ach, das geht schon, das ist nicht so schlimm, aber es geht uns halt darum, dass wir am Ende ja auch für die Monate, die jetzt kommen und das Jahr dann noch mehr Leute zulassen wollen. Und um das dann in Ordnung zu haben, müssen wir halt sorgen, dass die Systeme abgestimmt sind und in Ordnung sind. Also hoffen wir mal, dass das relativ schnell funktioniert. Ja, und bei dem Thema geblieben, dann hatten wir in dieser Woche natürlich groß in den Zeitungen hier in Namibia Wert, das ist der Geschäftsführer der Firma Gondwana Collection Namibia, natürlich eines der größten Tourismusunternehmen hier. Und Gijs hat sich eben mit seiner SOS-Tourismus-Kampagne nicht nur an die Öffentlichkeit hier gewandt, indem er eben seine Autos draußen auf dem Bürgersteig abstellte, sondern machte das sofort Karriere. Alle möglichen haben sich mit da eingebracht. Und so ist jetzt mittlerweile jeden Tag überall sind diese Autos zu sehen, also SOS Tourism. Geht ganz einfach darum, einfach mal auch der Regierung klarzumachen, wie sehr sich dieses auswirkt auf den gesamten Sektor. Und des Weiteren hat er dann in dieser Woche einen Brief geschrieben an den Antonio Guterres, das ist der Generalsekretär der UNO natürlich, und hat ihm versucht, ein bisschen klarzumachen, wie sehr oder wie schlimm sich das auswirkt, wenn die World Health Organization hingeht und grundsätzlich bei diesem ganzen Ansatz, wie man Covid bekämpfen soll, grundsätzlich immer ein und dieselbe Regel darstellt und aufstellt für alle Länder. Und wir können nicht alle gleich sein. Das ist ja genau das Argument, das wir eben bei Robert Koch und so weiter hatten, dass Namibia eben eine Bevölkerungsdichte hat, die weit unter jedem anderen liegt und mit dem Resultat es ein kleineres Risiko darstellt. Nun bin ich mir ganz sicher, dass das in Afrika generell so ist. Ja, es kann sein, dass da hier und da Hotspots, wie man das so schön sagt. Ich bin mir ganz sicher, dass nicht alles immer in Ordnung ist, aber es sollte wenigstens individuell nachgesehen werden und nicht grundsätzlich, dass alles gleich behandelt ist. Und darum ging es in dem Brief von Hubert, wo er eben das Lot vom Tourismus hier in Namibia beklagt und sich eigentlich auch ein bisschen beschwert über unseren Gesundheitsminister, der nach Schema F alles das macht, was die WHO ihm abverlangt und dabei gar nicht mehr eigene Maßnahmen ergreift oder für uns typische Situationen angepasste Maßnahmen ergreift. Also das war schon sehr interessant, das Ganze. Wie gesagt, in allen Zeitungen ziemlich breit getreten, auch in der Allgemeinen Zeitung. Ja, aber genug davon. Wir klagen jetzt ja sonst wieder nur den ganzen Tag. Das wollen wir ja auch nicht. Wir sind ja froh, dass es endlich vorangeht. Und gesprochen von vorangeht, Claudia Reiter war neulich auf dem Movani Mountain Camp und hat da eine der älteren Guides kennengelernt, die ist schon 60 Jahre alt und ist scheinbar eine der ersten schwarzen Guides gewesen. Also gucken Sie kurz rein.
I'm Rosalia Rice, well known as Rosie. I'm the camp guide of Moani Mountain Camp at the moment. Yeah, I've started completely at grassroots level with wilderness safaris, but I'm now at the camp's base at the camp now. I used to do also overland tours and freelance tours with the other companies too. And I'm doing mostly nature drive with the guest. And in our area, we have got actually elephants, which we are doing with our guest. And it's desert adapted elephants, which we have got in the area. And we have got two groups in our area, which is Damaraland Camp or Damaraland. And one is actually Rosie's group, named after me, because I'm one of the first black female guide in Namibia. And the other group, it's called Oscar's group. And we have got both, but at the moment, because of the food, which is not that much, they've moved out actually into different areas. And they form small groups also, small groups all over. So, yeah, that's actually the elephants which we are doing.
Okay, one more question. Do you have any problems with poaching?
Poaching really not that much with elephants because ivory is not that much expensive, but we have got now and then there is a rhino poaching because of the rhino horns. Yeah. About the conservancies and the local people in the area, well, previously there was a lot of conflict between the local people and the elephants because previously they didn't benefit that much from their wildlife. It's only commercial farmers which is much benefiting from their wildlife. And in that way, people, they just chase out the elephants if they came close to their water points for drinking water. And government has made a good joint venture thing with which we call conservancies. And under conservancies, actually, local people are also benefit from their wildlife because government allow them to look after their own wildlife, benefit from them, and in that way they've start get used to the elephants also too, and then they form much like a close hand to hand or close to stay bit close to each other. And in that way our elephants are also very relaxed with the local people, with the vehicles, and they drink much at the local villages, and the local people are also opening troughs for them to drink, and that makes them also better relaxed with the human being in the area, and the conflict between them it's bit less now than previously, because previously they think like these things are just coming to mess up our water. They take out the pipelines, they push down the windmills and so on. So that has made the local people previously upset. But now, with this joint venture project, actually they have started to get used to them, help each other. Elephants are used to human being, and human beings are also used to elephants, because both are benefit from each other, and that makes them relax also, and they are not anymore pushing down that much windmills and taking out pipelines and so on. So it's a good actually good idea. They form these conservancies. It helps them also, and they benefit also from the tourists which is sleeping at the lodges. 10% of their income, 10% of this payment of the tourists, it's going to them. So it helps them also financially, and also it has bring a bit of friendship between the wildlife and local people.
Ja, das war eben Mowani Mountain Camp. Die Dame, falls wir es nicht ganz gehört haben, Rosalia Harreis, sprach eben auch über die Wüstenelefanten, die eigentlich keine Wüstenelefanten sind, sondern eben nur Elefanten sind, die sich eben an ihre Umgebung angepasst haben. Ist überhaupt kein Genunterschied zwischen diesen und anderen Elefanten, ist halt nur dadurch, dass wir mehr und mehr Tiere haben, werden welche an den Rand gedrängt, und davon sind dann welche eben, die sich in der Kunene-Region bis rüber an die Küste haben verdrängen lassen, will ich mal sagen, von den Herden, und haben sich angepasst an diese Umgebung. Aber wie gesagt, sie lebt in dieser Umgebung und ist stolz darauf, dass sie im Damaraland und als Teil der Kommune da mit diesen Tieren auskommt und, wie sie so schön sagt, Hand in Hand mit den Elefanten lebt. Ja, und das war halt nur ein kleiner Beitrag, den ich als Teil der Topics bringen wollte. Als nächstes haben wir dann die Destinations. Welcome back. I must admit I'm actually in a very good mood, seeing that they changed the status of Namibia. Somehow I hope it really creates opportunities for all of us. Talking of opportunities, in the studio with me is Claudia. Obviously she writes for Tourismus Namibia. Welcome back.
Thank you, Frank.
Yeah, Chloe will obviously give us a few destination ideas again. It was actually quite funny the other day, she still said, no, we've got so much to talk about still. And today she admitted she's running out of ideas, so I need to send her out again.
We haven't traveled as much as usual this year, you know.
Exactly.
So it's a real problem.
Yeah, but don't worry, we'll make a plan, that is for sure. So what do you want to introduce to us today?
Well, my route that I took, the back route, along the C23 and then the C415.
Okay, just to explain to the readers, so what you can do is if you would go south down from Windhoek, you would turn off at Riobot, or a bit later again, more or less on the height of Pitawasa and Oachanas.
Past Dodabus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can also take it, exactly, you can even take it from Dodabus going out of Windhoek. But what she's basically done, she took the back route. In other words, the parallel road, which is a sand road, parallel to the tar road going south.
Yeah, and it was a nice, I mean, it was a different road which took you past a whole lot of like old German farms, and I actually saw some bat-eared fox and everything along that road, because I don't think very many people travel it other than the farmers themselves. Yeah. And so it kind of broke the journey scenically away from the B1. You know, I could have made it in half the time if I was on the tar road, but I mean, passing all these delicious like fig, I mean wild
Did you
figs.
steal
And
some?
I didn't. They pricked me a hell of a shot. I'm
Yeah.
telling you. But then like just the quirkiness of Namibia is what really like is so attractive to me. And this, I don't even actually know the name of this town, but just the way that they kind of like have the cheek to put the tractor like up in the air, and you know, it's just those little things. I think it was closed because of COVID.
Okay.
But kind of really quirky in how they've used
All
the old
these old
signage,
signs,
and that shell sign, I mean, must be ancient. It's
Yeah, it must
really
be close
beautiful.
to the 50s, 60s.
Yeah.
That's when it was in.
Really beautiful. And so this back route takes you past all of this, you know, through past Uhlenhorst and then Hooghanas and everything. And all the while I was looking for the German graves that you had told me about.
Yeah.
And, you know, they aren't marked on maps. And so
Well, you've got to search, yeah.
Actually, I saved the location of all the ones that I came across just so that we have them on file, because they are always far from where you would expect them to be. Because it seems as though
There's actually a map which one can use.
Really?
Yeah.
It seems as though they buried the soldiers where they had died.
Exactly.
Because they are very dispersed all the way along. But this road in particular takes you through a number of graves, you know, and even fields of Nama graves as well, which I initially thought were German graves, but you know, all part of the history. And so
and don't make no mistake, many of them died in their clashes. So it wasn't only Germans who died. Obviously, Namas died as well.
Exactly, but a beautiful route where you have the Kalahari. I mean, white roads, but the Kalahari sand right next to it. I don't know if that's the way they create the roads. Would those originally be red dust roads?
Yeah, that's how they start off, and then later, obviously, they taught. But specifically, this route where you've made these photos here, wasn't it somehow funny how they go up and down and up and
It's the
down?
most
It starts when you're sitting in the back, you start having car sickness.
That's the C17, and I've got to say that is actually mesmerizing, because you actually don't know what's coming after the hill that you pass. But it takes you past those amazing dwarfs playgrounds, and eventually to Giants Playground, and then you can take the tar route back. But I loved every moment of it. And actually the next destination we speak about, that same route along the C17 takes you to Kois, but June Song Breathers is the next destination I'm going to discuss, and that's on an off-road, a farm off-road, and it's the Onze Rust farm. Yeah. And you actually
this is
told
like
me
closer
about
to Kitmans already.
Well,
as you approach.
It's about 30 kilometers from Kois. So
but I mean on the road to Kitmans.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, they have either these self-catering chalets. They've got 3 of them with 4 beds in each chalet, overlooking this incredible like savanna in the desert, you know, with red sand. And it's so stylish the way they've put it together. The units are quite close together, but I get the feeling that a family would go there and kind of take up all the units.
Okay.
But what really caught my eye was their bush camp, which is nestled inside the Kalahari dunes. And honestly, even just the way that they've hidden the camp with the almost mace boards on the roofs and things like that, from a distance you can't see it.
Yeah,
completely
and it's obviously
solar-powered.
cooler because of it.
Yeah, but I mean, you can just walk for days. I mean, I didn't have the chance to stay there, but it's on my bucket list for sure. And it's just, I can just imagine writing, reading, walking. It's just honestly paradise.
Just get your soul settled again.
Yeah. And this is the toilet. So everything is so quirky. You have like a loo with a view, which is amazing. But what I actually find so fascinating about Namibia, and I'm realizing it time and time again, it's the men. It's the men who come up with all these quirky ideas. This was a brainchild of the farmer, Peter, who you're able to go on.
This is truly a loo with a view.
It is. I mean, look at this view. Look at this view. But I mean, any quirky kind of off the beaten track experience I found, more often than not, it's not the farmer's wife who's come up with it, it's the farmer himself. And I love that. I think it's hilarious.
He's probably been out there and thinking, okay, but
if
I had to camp, this is the way I want it.
Look at the style. And it's so well hidden with these beautiful, I don't know what type of wood that is. Yeah. And then
really.
He's even created a kind of viewpoint at the top where you can have sundowners that overlook kind of like this hidden haven, you know. but I've got to say that the dining table can fit, I think, 12 people. So it's like you could really go there with your entire family and extended family and have a really special time.
Yeah, or a group of friends who really do a tour and then stop there for 2 days or 3 days.
I mean, look at that. I mean, like you said just now, they had good rains, you know, because it is the undiscovered kind of southeast, but this part in particular had good rains that year. So
and that's the thing. The problem is that not everybody had it, and it's the old story. When Namibia gets rain, it's a paradise in a question of 2-3 weeks.
Yeah,
and especially in the south, it's sometimes you can literally see the stuff grow.
Would that literally just be the red dunes if it hadn't rained?
Yeah. Yeah, typically, yeah. And some white depends on where you obviously stop, but typically here where you see these dunes going up, that for sure is normally just red dune. And what's very nice, when the green comes up, you suddenly have this green set off against that extreme red. And then you really get extreme colors. So it doesn't really matter what time of year you go. The Kalahari has some magic sites at all times of the year. Yeah.
And then further on, I mean, from here, you could visit Giant's Playground. You could even be en route to Luderitz, but it's perfectly positioned to go to Kakharachari, which I think is like, if you are coming from South Africa, stopping there and then going to Kakharachari is a wonderful idea. But continuing on then up the B1, you'll come to Altekokerhofen. Am I saying it correctly?
Yeah.
And that's where the coal lithoporium is, which
so it's Altekalköfen, but yeah, you're quite close.
I'll
so
practice.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
But they have the lithops there, and I've got to say, I didn't even know lithops existed before going to the coal lithoporium. And Hilda and Frikkie Mouton are the owners of the farm, and kind of they have the largest registered collection of lithops in the whole of Namibia. I may even say South Africa, because they have both South African lithops and Namibian lithops. And they've got specially constructed hothouses, and going on a tour and really learning about each and every plant. Well, first of all, let me explain what a lithops is. It's basically a miniature desert-adapted succulent that, in order to survive the desert and the harsh, arid regions that they survive in, they're only exposed to fleshy leaves on the surface of the soil that are miniature, and then a taproot system is what feeds them water. And they can literally go for months on end without water, and some even live on fog alone, you know.
Exactly, yeah. They take whatever moisture they get.
And so they are absolutely fascinating, but they mimic their surroundings. So you'll see in a few of these photos that the coloring and the texture and the size of the succulents often is mirroring the surrounding rocks.
He's obviously set them up that way, but I know for sure that you sometimes walk in these areas and you don't see them.
You don't. And actually, when they were first discovered in 1811 by William John Burchell, he found it by accident.
Yeah.
He actually picked up a curiously shaped pebble that proved to be a plant, and so altogether, you know, it's these kinds of things that make the desert so exciting to explore, because it's you wouldn't expect this kind of beauty in those arid regions.
The flowering actually only takes literally days. If there's some rain, it will come up and it's off again.
Only in autumn, and they're noon blooming, so they only come out when the sun is up. Yeah. But they also are so well disguised in order to protect themselves from grazing antelope, because to the antelope there could be rocks. Yeah. But I wonder I'm sure the flowers give them away.
Smell it.
I'm sure the flowers give them away.
No, sure.
I mean, look here, look how you can hardly even see the lithops there.
Yeah. I mean, this is a giveaway, obviously, but how often does that happen? Like you said, once a year.
And actually, Frikkie and Hilda have actually discovered some lithops that you know, on adventures through the desert. So they are kind of ever evolving, and new ones are popping up all the time, which is amazing. They've actually written there's been a whole thesis written on their discovery and everything. So, I mean, you could really spend hours learning about each and every one of these plants.
Yeah, I remember going there once and spending there and thinking, you know, you actually want to stay around for much longer than you have time for.
I haven't shown pictures here, but it's an incredible place to stay. It really is. I mean, I think we'll save that for another destination, but sure. It's, I mean, you know, coupled with history of the lime kilns, it really is.
Because that's what it originally was. It was because the railway line ran right in front of their main house. I don't know if you
It's,
saw it.
it still does,
there.
and you hear it twice a day, which
Yeah, now that
adds
it
to the
runs
magic.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't running for years and years, so you always had a hard time imagining it. But there's one thing that I want to touch on. Remember the other day we spoke about the Nama and the fact that Namakwa land and Nama land in Namibia is actually one big area. The fact that somebody decided to use the Orange River as a border point shouldn't distract from the fact that, in fact, Namakwa land, the bigger portion is in Namibia and the smaller
Namakwa,
portion,
yeah.
Exactly. And so it strikes me when we speak about lithops being in Namibia or being South African
It's just
lithops.
Southern
It's actually
Africa.
wrong, yeah.
Yeah.
It is lithops that you find in Namakwa land.
Yeah.
And so just to sort of get that one right, you might find one sort more frequently further south and one further north. But at the end of the day, they're lithops, and
Yeah.
I don't think they care much about
I think
borders.
we proved that point over and over again,
Yeah,
how
no.
pathetic borders actually are.
Yeah, they are, and they should be removed as far as I'm concerned. No, I wouldn't mind if Africa became something like EU, so really, so you go and you have a look at what you want to see.
Frank for president.
Okay, but now finally, there was something that I wanted to share with you guys. I've got a little video which basically comes from Erwin Leuschner down at the coast working for Allgemeine Zeitung, and he submitted it for another show, but I just felt, no, we need to share it on the tourism show as well. So yeah, have a look. Yeah, what an experience. I wouldn't mind doing that.
Me too.
I must admit I've never done it before. This video actually had the title Floating on a Desert Breeze. Yeah, and that is really what it is. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Yeah.
Jealous.
And so next week we'll bring you some more destinations. Ja, und das waren die Destinations mit Chloe Dieu. Macht jedes Mal Spaß. Ich sagte das schon so oft, Chloe ist eigentlich nicht von hier. Und ich finde das sehr schön, weil wir alle sind das so gewohnt, hier im Land rumzureisen und alles zu sehen. Und dass wir wahrscheinlich oftmals gar nicht mehr richtig sehen, wie viel Interessantes es neben der Straße noch gibt. Chloe ist da ganz anders. Die guckt das mit offenen Augen an, ist neu im Land. Jedes bisschen, was sie sieht, fasziniert sie und erkennt sie ganz anders als wie wir, die das ganz selbstverständlich hinnehmen. Und dadurch haben wir hoffentlich die Gelegenheit, Ihnen das als eventueller Besucher oder Besucherin ein bisschen interessant zu gestalten. Ja, und dann sind wir als nächstes sind wir schon beim Interview. Wir hatten ein Interview mit Tracy Eagles von der First National Bank. Aber gucken Sie sich selber an, worüber wir geredet haben. Welcome back. As you can see, I'm being joined by Tracy Eagles, Chief Marketing Officer of First Rand Namibia. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you so much, Frank.
It's not every day that we've got this sort of interview. Normally we talk about sticks and stones, but welcome, Tracy. I'm so glad because we've got 250,000 Namibia dollars, which First Rand, or for that matter, FNB, First National Bank, is supporting us in the initiative for Namibia Tourism Expo 2020, where we're giving away free tickets. But before we go there, just quickly explain your role in the company and what you do more or less.
So the title Chief Marketing Officer generally means Chief Bottle Washer.
Okay, good
kind of,
stuff.
so you get involved with everything, pretty much anything to do with communications in the business. So whether it's an SMS that comes through for any of the particular brands to you, or to the annual report, for example, and editing and proofing that, and investor relations. And I'm really, really lucky because I have a fantastic team. So marketing reports to me, research reports to me, customer strategy, particular love and passion point for the group. And aside from that, of course, events, marketing, sponsorships, foundation,
Okay.
So I
And
get all the good
that's exactly
stuff.
the reason why you're here.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, but before we even go beyond that, COVID-19, it's obviously
Yeah.
on everybody's mind. And how did you treat it in your office in this year?
So two ways, actually. One particularly was immediately what can we do for the market?
Okay.
And understanding that some things literally ground to an absolute halt. Others did their best to struggle along. But each of them, particularly the customers that had been in good standing with us, it's a long-term partnership if you're in good standing with the bank for a long time. And so our role very much was to say, in F&B particularly, is where are you? How can we be part of helping you to sustain yourself through this time? And so along with initiatives like the government's COVID relief package, we also did a number of reworking, restructuring of loans, consolidating of debt counseling, as well as payment holidays over that time. And then I think also one of the things that we were quite proud of is when the basic income grant came out or, for the pandemic, is that around about 1.5 million of the people that were on that list had said that of all the banks, in that 70% of it wanted to have it paid by e-wallet.
Wow.
So we were quite excited about that.
Sure.
So that's really kind of what F&B as a brand is about, is making things accessible and easy and convenient. And then digitally, of course, is the way that we are operating now.
Okay. Talking of digitally, that's where we're going with the Namibia Tourism Expo this year. And obviously with you on board now, this is very exciting stuff. I think you must have been blind if you haven't read in any of the NMH papers up to now that we're giving away free vouchers to the value of Namibia 1,000, which you can win in various ways, taking part in competitions in the papers, on our internet sites and so on. And it's all about being able to have a 1,000 Namibia dollar voucher as a discount voucher, really, because you need to use it as a voucher during the NTE. And the idea is obviously for people to support tourism and book their stay at the Namibia Tourism Expo, which is due to be held on the 4th of November leading up to the 7th, which will be the highlights, obviously. So what made F&B decide to actually support that initiative? Because 250,000, clearly you've got an idea of what you would like to achieve with this.
Yeah, so our support is to the Tourism Expo has been a lot wider than that. So we've been a partner for 3 years.
Exactly.
And obviously things have changed over these years. We've had really great themes around energy, we've had the environment, all of those things were very important. And then COVID came.
Yeah.
Okay, so now what? And so a reworking of the format of the Tourism Expo was quite important to us. And taking something digitally in a way that says we can try to be different. A little bit earlier, you and I were talking about what do we do to really inspire people to be different in this time? Because the environment, let's face it, is suffering. And they're suffering also psychologically. It's financially, yes, but they've tried so many things.
Yeah.
They've tried retrenching, they've tried skeleton staff, they've tried coming back out of retirements to keep things going.
Yeah.
And yet, it's just that impetus to get people to move and do something different. So offering these vouchers is actually a very exciting way, because wherever you can pick up a voucher, it means, you know what, depending on where you want to book, that could be the night. That could just be a wonderful time to just relax and take advantage of the great lodges that we have. And if you feel like splurging a little bit, then you take that 1,000 and you put it with something else and you book another couple of nights somewhere. But it's really about putting some kind of impetus into the market. So, let's just give someone a chance to go, if I had it, I would consider that. But right now, to get them out of that,
getting them out of that lethargy, and just make everybody realize that if we don't get up, nobody will.
Nobody will. It's just the pure weight of things.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a touch of sunshine and says, maybe let's think about it because I've got it now. It's very
just
exciting.
remember, you don't need to be a customer of F&B just to qualify for that. This is really an initiative which F&B simply supports. It's for all of us.
Yes.
So it's for all of us to decide whether we want to go on leave, and take a chance, go to the expo, maybe find a nice leave idea or destination that you've never been to that you would never afford normally, because obviously this is a combination effort. The tourism sites themselves obviously are offering special deals, so it might just be that you get out of there and suddenly find that you haven't even paid half of your normal stay.
Yeah. So yes, it is. I would encourage all of the F&B customers to try and make sure you get your hands on a voucher somewhere.
Yeah. Get some of your money back.
Come on, let's support this initiative. But then also, banks' roles in society is much wider than just their customer base.
Yeah.
It starts with their customer base, and we hope that we treat them well enough that others go, I want to be there.
Yeah. Okay.
But beyond that, we have a societal role as well that says we know that there's an issue in this industry, and we want to partner them to somehow make a difference, and just that drive, that little bit of an impetus, that hooks to it.
So where else in the tourism sector are you then involved?
So we have, we hold about 40% of the market generally as F&B.
Okay.
So customer base is very strong. And so that as a proxy, we're very much involved in a number of tourism endeavors, whether it be from car rentals through to lodges. One of the things that's been of concern for those customers of ours that actually do car rentals is, of course, this issue now with the border.
And then to just add it to the problem again.
It's such a pity, because in Africa we like to drive. We like to have that sense of independence and be able to drive across. We have international tourists too, go into South Africa, then drive through to us. Look at the flowers on the way. So sorting out the land tourism aspect is vital at the moment. I don't know what the stats are in terms of lodges, but I think it would be a good exercise to run, is how many people arrive there in their cars as opposed to being fetched from the airport.
And that's exactly, as Tourism Namibia, or Tourismus Namibia for that matter, we will take a new approach as from November going forward, where we start introducing the concept of 10 degrees south, where the idea is not only to promote Namibia anymore, but actually look to Botswana, South Africa. We're already starting to do it in our magazine. So I totally agree with you that typically people would land in Windhoek and drive to Vic Falls or wherever else they go, or the other way around. They'll land there and come to Namibia and look at Etosha and so on.
But Namibia as a hub is the best place for everyone, actually, because it's generally a safe environment. We are, of course, experiencing some very real internal issues around gender-based violence at the moment, and I'm sure the international market is looking at us very strongly on that. Those things affect tourism, so it's important that we get these things right, because this is a perfect hub for a 10 degrees south environment. If people came in here, everybody could come in here and move from here out. I mean, what a win for us.
Yeah. And by the way, I totally hear you when you say that gender-based violence is an issue. It is a serious issue. But let's be fair with each other. I think it has been on the cards for a long time. It's just a case of suddenly people have had enough.
Yes.
So to suddenly say, oh, suddenly this is a different country, that's not quite true. I think you're just as safe in Namibia as you were like 3, 4, 5 months ago.
No, it's definitely, I think safety is something that we generally are able to offer all the time. It's become a far more woke world, where people are wanting to go to places that are sustainable, that are looking to organic opportunities, that are employing locally, that are building capacity and sustainability. So, internal issues like this that can be solved need to be off the table. That's my opinion about it, all of it. And I think we're a small enough country in terms of people that we can solve our problems. Talking of NTE, will F&B be there? Do you have a stand? Of course. We're always there. Wherever our customers are, we are.
Okay.
So, of course, we'll be there. And we'll be particularly punting our alternative channels. So, stay out of the branches. No need for you to go to branch. Everything is on your app. Also, the other thing about the app, of course, is, again, that ease of it, is that we zero rate the airtime on it. So you do have to have your airtime on, but it doesn't use it.
Okay.
It's just, it has to be on, but if you actually could run a meter, you'd see that you don't actually
charge,
use, we don't charge for it. So we pay for that. So all your banking essentially is right in your hand without you having to pay petrol, go stand in a queue, lose hours from
Adding
work.
over and above the $1,000 Namibia voucher.
Yes.
If you really think about it.
It is, yes.
Yeah. Tell me finally, F&B going forward into 2021, what are your immediate plans? How do you see yourself being involved in reinvigorating the tourism trade? Not only the tourism trade, but Namibia as such.
Yeah. So it's a bigger narrative. As a group, F&B is obviously our anchor brand, and the role that it has to play is very much around supporting the customer base, opening opportunities for the customer base to look at things differently, especially in a constrained environment. Speaking about tourism, it's how do you encourage someone to think beyond the way they've always done things? And so what kind of platforms can we put in place for that? And we'll be looking at opportunities for engagements, for people to talk about new ideas. So innovation is a big thing of ours.
Yeah.
So we like to push that. But our bigger narrative is very much around making Namibia globally competitive. So we have big, audacious goals as a group.
But that's really much in line with 10 degrees south. We've decided to look beyond the borders of Namibia, and I think that's really what's got to happen. We're part of the bigger picture.
We can't
COVID
keep,
has
we
really
can't
taught
keep
us
playing just internally. We actually need the world, and the world absolutely would benefit from us.
Yeah, I think none needs us, but could do well with us.
Yes.
Yeah. So any final thoughts before we part?
I've always loved the Tourism Expo. I've been part of it one way or the other in my career since it started. Way back when Glenda and I would have new ideas about how could we do this. So it's a kind of thing that's close to my heart. But it's important to me that it stays relevant. So finding the things that make sense, that maybe will just help people to think differently, is very much part of F&B's how can we help you positioning. And we're happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Thanks so much,
and
Frank.
see you in the near future at the NTE.
Definitely see you there.
Okay. Ja, interessant. Also wir bekommen da wirklich eine großartige Unterstützung von der First National Bank. Im Großen und Ganzen, falls Sie das im Englischen nicht so ganz mitbekommen konnten, geht es eben darum, wir haben diese Gutscheine, die wir weggeben. Also ein Gutschein hat den Wert von 1.000 Namibia Dollar und die geben wir an Einzelne weg. Wir haben hier einige Wettbewerbe in den Zeitungen und auch im Internet laufen, werden Sie vielleicht schon gesehen haben. Und im Großen und Ganzen hat sich Namibia Media Holdings, also der Verlag, dazu bereit erklärt, 1 Million zu vergeben. Die Idee ist dabei nicht, dass jeder sich so viel wie möglich davon zusammen macht, sondern dass jeder die Möglichkeit hat, so einen 1.000 Dollar Voucher in die Hände zu bekommen. Und die F&B hat sich dann eben bereit erklärt, na gut, von den Millionen übernehmen wir 250. Und das ist im Grunde, worauf es rausgeht. Und diese Vouchers können dann eben eingelöst werden bei der Namibia Tourism Expo. Die ist ja jetzt, also die Tourismusmesse war ja sonst immer hier im Juni, musste wegen Covid verschoben werden. Und so haben wir jetzt am 4. November bis zum 7. November haben wir die Tourismusmesse. Natürlich ein bisschen kleiner als wie in den Vorjahren, weil wir natürlich auch die Zahlen ein bisschen kontrollieren müssen. Aber trotzdem, wir haben uns mit dem Staat auch einigen können, wie wir das machen. Und wir haben normale Kontrollen da. Und ich denke, das geht auch. Und wir machen das auf dem Sportgelände des Sportclub Windhoek, also in Olympia. Und das geht, wie gesagt, über 3 Tage. Und dann natürlich werden die Aussteller dabei sein. Das heißt also Lieferanten sowie eben auch die Gastbetriebe selber. Aber auf der anderen Seite, Sie hoffentlich als Besucher sind dann auch mit dabei und so bringen wir alle zusammen. Die Idee ist dann eben, dass wer einen Gutschein hat, kann ihn dann bei dieser Tourismusmesse einlösen. Muss natürlich sein, indem er oder sie halt einen Urlaub bucht bei diesen besagten Teilnehmern, als Aussteller und so weiter. Ja, und dann werden wir als NMH das Mögliche tun, um das Ganze interessant zu gestalten. Wir planen da zum Beispiel internetbasierte Interviews mit den Lodges selber. Und zwar nicht alle, aber für die größeren, vor allen Dingen die teilnehmen an dem Tourist des Jahreswettbewerbs. Und so werden wir dann regelrecht mit GoPro-Kameras vor Ort uns ansehen können, was da gerade passiert. Und so soll diese ganze Live-Stimmung so ein bisschen reingebracht werden. Und wenn das jetzt in diesem Jahr gut klappt, dann wollen wir es im kommenden Jahr sogar so machen, dass wirklich jeder Aussteller seinen Betrieb dann live mit seinem Stand verbindet. Die Idee ist dann eben, dass jeder, der buchen will, sagt, okay, du hast zuletzt geschrieben, wie toll das sei bei dir, jetzt zeig mal, ist das auch wirklich so? Was geht denn gerade, was ist los an der Wasserstelle? Wie sieht es bei eurem Game Drive aus und so weiter? Aber das ist dann noch so ein bisschen Zukunftsmusik. Jetzt fangen wir erstmal an, das Ganze reinzubringen. Und dann natürlich am Samstag große Show. Erstens mal werden all die möglichen Wettbewerbe dann abgeschlossen. Wir werden die Tourismus-Show auch von da aus live übertragen. Und dann natürlich später am Nachmittag geht es dann los. Dann haben wir ein großes Live-Konzert da. Also ich denke, das wird ganz interessant. Und für die Kritiker kann ich nur sagen, wenn sie sich das nicht angeguckt haben, dann sollten sie sich vielleicht aus dem Gespräch raushalten, denn sie können ja noch gar nicht wissen, was wir anbieten. Und ich denke, wir haben ein ganz interessantes Programm da. Also wenn Sie Lust haben, kommen Sie rüber und dann hinterher höre ich mir gerne Kritik an. Das nur so nebenbei. Ich hoffe, diese Show hat Ihnen Spaß gemacht und hoffe, Sie nächste Woche wieder begrüßen zu dürfen, zur selben Zeit, an derselben Stelle. Bis dahin bleiben Sie gesund und ein schönes Wochenende.